Selfish. The word selfish comes to mind when I think of myself sometimes. It's not like a thought that I can let pass. It keeps sitting there. Selfish. And a part of me wants to reject it immediately. Like, nah, that's not me. That's not who I am. But another part of me hears it and gets quiet because what if it's true? What if I am selfish? What if I've been becoming more selfish and just finding better language for it? A lot of beautiful words for something that might still be ugly underneath. I know what selfish is supposed to mean. I know how we use it. I know the taste it leaves in people's mouths. Selfish means you choose yourself and let everybody else deal with the cost. Selfish means you make your life the center when in reality it's just permission to stop caring. But then I look at my life and I don't know how to deny it completely because I'm in everything. Every choice, every yes, every no, every act of love, every silence, every time I show up, every time I don't, I'm there. Somewhere in it, I'm there. I used to think love meant getting myself out the way. I thought being selfless meant proving I could give more and need less. But now I don't know. Now I start with me more than I ever have. I check myself first. I ask what I want, what I feel, what I can give. I ask what's mine and what I keep picking up just because I know how. And even when it feels right, I still hesitate. Because what does it mean if I keep beginning with myself? What happens when the person I fought so hard to save become the only person I know how to protect? What if all this is just a better dressed version of selfishness? What if I didn't find peace? What if I just became harder to hold accountable? How can anyone hold you accountable if you're selfish? I understand that, but how could I be selfish when I stepped into storms because I knew what it felt like to stand in one alone? I picked up weight that wasn't mine because I couldn't stand watching someone else break under theirs and not be able to help. I gave when I was tired. I showed up empty. I made room for pain that had nothing to do with me and still treated it like it was my own. So, no, I don't think it's fair to say I was only being selfish. I feel too small for what I know was real. The wanting to help was real. Maybe that was the problem, or maybe I just hated the thought of nobody doing it for me. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe there was some of that in it. Maybe I stepped into storms because I was really thinking about how afraid I would be if no one stepped into mine. Maybe I helped because some quiet part of me was hoping someone would notice I was carrying weight too. Maybe I gave because I thought emptying myself would prove I was worthy of being filled by someone else. But does that mean it wasn't real? If I was doing things out of fear, does that mean love was never there? If I needed something too, does that erase what I gave? I don't believe that. I can't believe that. I won't let myself believe that every good thing becomes something ugly because I can finally see myself inside of it. Then were you giving love or trying to earn it back? Can both be true? I was giving love, but I was also trying to earn it back. I'm starting to understand that now. I was giving love with fear underneath it. Fear that one day I would need the same kind of love and it wouldn't be there. Fear that if I didn't show up for people in their lowest moments, I would have no right to need anyone in mine. Fear that if I didn't prove myself useful, then maybe I wouldn't be worth staying for when I became difficult to love. So I gave. No, the love wasn't fake, but yes, the fear was real. Every time I stepped into someone else's storm, I thought I was only being loving. But somewhere deeper, I was also speaking to my own fear of being left alone in mine. Every time I helped, I thought I was proving how strong I was. But deeper, I was also hoping someone would notice the weight I never said I was carrying. Every time I made room for someone else's pain, I thought I was being selfless. But deeper, I was making deposits into an account no one even knew existed. I'm learning this in real time. I thought love worked like memory. I thought if I planted enough of it, it would remember where it came from. I thought if I gave it enough, then when my day came, all of it would return to me in the exact shape I needed it. but it didn't. That changed something in me because the system I had built inside myself out of survival didn't work. The agreement I thought existed had never been spoken. The contract I thought love understood had only been written inside my own fear. Nobody promised to rescue me. Nobody promised to hold me because I learned how to hold them. And when the day came and I reached for the return, there was nothing there. Just me. Me and all the names I had used to survive. The strong one. The one who understands. The one who doesn't need. And none of those names knew how to save me because I had built an identity out of being needed, but I had not built a home inside myself. I had become valuable to others in all the ways I was still absent from me. When there was no one left to perform strength for, no one left to prove my love to, I had to face the part of me I kept trying to outrun with goodness. I was empty. And it wasn't because I loved too much. It was because I had love outwardly while abandoning the place inside of me that needed love first. So was the love false, or was the wound louder than you knew? The love wasn't false. I know that for certain. I admit there was a need inside of it. I can see that wound now, and the wound was definitely louder than I knew. Maybe it was speaking under everything. Maybe the wound kept whispering, remember this, remember me, remember how I didn't leave you alone in yours. And maybe I mistook that whisper for a guarantee. Maybe I thought love had to not have needs in order to be real. But I don't think that anymore. I think love can be real and still have fear beneath it, or needs beneath it. I think a person can give from the heart and still be quietly hoping the heart gets found in return. That doesn't make the love fake. It makes the wound unspoken. Maybe that's what I'm really battling. That I love while hiding the part of me that needed love too. Then why did you hide it? Because needing felt more dangerous than being needed. I learned how to be strong, how to listen, how to make room, how to become useful when life got heavy. But needing, that felt like handing someone the part of me I spent my whole life protecting. Because if I finally said I need love too and it didn't come, then I would have to face what I was most afraid of, that maybe being needed was not the same as being known. Maybe being useful was not the same as being loved. Maybe I had become valuable to people in ways that still left me homeless inside myself. So I hid the need inside of the giving. Because as long as I was the one carrying, I didn't have to find out what would happen if I became the one asking. So who are you when no one needs you? Exactly. I don't know. I always thought I did until something happens. I thought my life had already answered that for me. But when nobody needed me in the way I knew how to be needed, I felt undefined. I spent so long becoming useful that I forgot how to become familiar to myself. Not even forgot, I just wasn't aware. I had built a name out of being dependable, but never built a place inside me where I could rest. And maybe that's why being called selfish hurts. Because if I'm not the strong one, the one who understands, or the one who can survive needing less, not the one with the answers, then who am I? Maybe the one you kept leaving behind. I can see that now. So, what does selfish look like now? Well, I still begin with me, but now I begin with me differently. I bring each moment through me first so I can find the part of me that understands what's asking to be met. Before I saw every interaction through what I needed it to mean, proof that I wasn't alone, proof that I wouldn't be forgotten and wouldn't matter. So even when I was giving, I was often reaching. Even when I was helping, I was often hoping. But now it's different. I ask what's true in me before I answer what's happening outside of me. I ask what am I trying to protect? What am I afraid of? What part of me wants to be right, seen, defended? understood, or safe. Then I keep going deeper because beneath all of that, there's usually another choice, a more honest one. The one I would love most if I were the person receiving. I sort through the fear, the pride, the old loneliness, and I try to land on the response that feels most aligned with the version of me I'm hoping to be. That's selfish, completely, because I'm choosing every experience from inside me. I'm choosing the energy I want to carry. I'm choosing what feels fulfilling. I'm choosing the outcome I want this experience to create in me. And somehow, this kind of selfishness doesn't empty me, it fills me. When I get from fear, I drain. When I get from guilt, I drain. When I get from the need to be seen, I drain. But when I start with the love I need from myself, something in me stays full, sometimes fuller, like I'm not losing anything, like I'm not handing pieces of myself away, hoping someone brings them back. It's overflowing from me. That's new because I used to think giving meant subtraction. I thought love meant pouring out until I had less. I thought selflessness meant disappearing beautifully enough so that no one noticed the cost. But this doesn't feel like disappearing. This feels like returning. I saw it recently in something small, a day that could have easily become bigger than it needed to be. But when I checked in with myself, what felt right was smaller, quieter, freer, space where joy didn't have to perform for anyone. And somewhere inside that choice, I felt the little boy in me, the one who would have remembered a day like that forever. Not because it was big, but because it was felt. So I gave that selfishly. I gave the experience I would have wanted to receive, and somehow my child received it too. That's what I mean. Not that I used him to heal me or make his moment about my past, but when I listened for the kind of love that would have lasted inside me, I found something worth offering outside of me. So yeah, I am selfish, more than I've ever been. But maybe selfish only becomes dangerous when the self believes it's separate. Maybe the harm was never in beginning with myself. Maybe the harm was in beginning with the self that was afraid, a self that was empty, a self that gave love with one hand and quietly reached back with the other. But this self is learning something different now. This self is learning to become the place love begins, not the place love ends. So I begin with me. I meet me first. I listen for the love I would have needed. I become the person I would have hoped to meet. And then I let that version touch the world. Maybe that's selfish. Maybe there's love. Maybe at the deepest place, they were never as separate as I thought.